Hi and welcome back to the course. In this video we're going to be creating our store resource. Now, the first thing to do is to go over to the resources folder and create a new file which I'm going to call store.py. Now, there are two ways that we could go about this. We could start everything from scratch and create each of the endpoints, or we could copy and paste and then change the item endpoints. For your benefit, I'm going to go for creating everything from scratch. However, you can speed along, maybe change the video speed to 1x5 if you prefer, just to go through things a bit faster, since you're already familiar with how all of this goes. The first thing to do is to import the things that we need from the libraries. So from Flask, RESTful, we're going to import resource. Okay, and from the store model, we're gonna import that. So from models.store, import store model. Okay, then we're going to create our first resource, the store, which is going to extend the resource class. And in Python, remember, the way we extend is by putting between brackets directly after the class name. Okay, so what endpoints do we need for a store? A store only has a name. So I'm only going to create get, post, and delete endpoints. I'm not going to create a put endpoint because changing a store name kind of inherently changes everything about the store, I guess. So I'm not going to allow editing of stores. So I'm going to create a get, which takes in a name. And I'm going to put pass, that means do nothing, just to create the structure of what we're making first, and then we'll go implementing each one. So the post and the delete. Okay, so these are the three things that we're going to implement. And down here, we're also going to implement a store list resource. Okay, and we're going to do that later on. The get method, what this has to do is return a specific store. So as we know, we can get a store by name using the store model. So store model dot find by name, and that may return a store object, or it may return none. So if the store was returned, then return store.json. Remember, that's also going to return the items as well. And if we didn't return store.json, that means that the store was not found, so we can return a message saying store not found, followed by a 404. Remember, what we're returning here is a tuple of dictionary first and code after. And Flask-SQLAlchemy, as well as Flask, see this and say, okay, you want to return this in the body and this in the status code. The default is 200, which is what we're returning there, so we don't have to put it in. That's our get method. All that it does is it looks in the database to see if it's there, and then returns it if it is there, or returns store not found otherwise. Okay, the post is going to be fairly similar. The first thing we're going to do is look to see if the store already exists. So if the store model find by name already exists, then that means that we don't want to create a new one because it's already there. So we're going to return a message saying that the store is already there. Okay, like that. And here we're going to use the format method, which you can do on any string. And what that does is that replaces this opening and closing curly brace by the value there. Okay. And then we're going to return 400 as the status code. Now, if that didn't happen, that means the store doesn't exist, so we can create a new one with a given name that is passed in as an argument. And then we're going to try to save the store to the database, and if that fails, we're going to return a wee message, and you have to spell things correctly, not like I do. And the code that we're returning here is 500 because we are not sure exactly what the error was. Likely it's some sort of database problem. So it's not the user's fault. So we return 500, which means internal server error. It's our fault. Now, if that didn't get returned, that means that we succeeded at saving to database, so we can return store.json. And 201 saying that it has been created. Okay, finally, the delete method here is going to, once again, look to see if the store exists. And if it does, we're going to delete it. And if it doesn't, we're not going to do anything. So really, we're just going to say that it was deleted. And if the store didn't exist, the end scenario is the same. The store doesn't exist. So the delete method, really what the delete method causes is for the store to stop existing. If the store didn't exist to begin with, the user doesn't really care. It doesn't care that the store wasn't there already. It only cares that it has been deleted. It's no longer there. Okay. And the store list as well, for good measure, is going to be very similar to the item list. All that is going to return is a dictionary of stores, where the stores each have to be their own JSON. So go ahead and implement this yourselves. You know how to do this, or look at the item list resource if you need some more guidance. Hopefully you got that. There are two ways to do it. Once again, one is to do store.json for store in store model.query.all, or you can use the list and the map as we have seen in the past if you prefer. Okay, that's everything for our resources. Now we've got our two resources here, and as you can see, now that we know what we're doing, it's fairly quick to implement these resources, because we know exactly what each endpoint is meant to do. Now we're going to go over to the app, and we're going to import the resource from resources.store, import store and store list. And then we're going to make sure to add the resources to the API. So API, add resource, store, and the endpoint for a store is going to be store and name. And at the bottom, we're going to add also API.add resource store list, and that's going to be /stores. Okay, something important to remember is that SQLAlchemy creates the tables for you. So we have to delete data.db there, so it does that. But also, it only creates the tables that it sees. Now, that's important because it goes through imports. So here, for example, we're importing store, and then that goes over to the store model, and the store resource, and the store resource imports the store model. And the store model has the table and the column definitions. So as you can see, there is a way for us to have imported the store model. If we don't import store, the table for stores won't get created. Well, if we don't import really any of this, the table for stores won't get created because SQLAlchemy will not be able to see that that is a thing that exists in our app. Okay, so it's important that you import the things that you want SQLAlchemy to be able to know about. And in some cases, if you don't have a resource associated to something that you want to store in the database, you can just import the model directly, and then SQLAlchemy will see that it exists. Okay, so that's everything for this video. In the next one, we're going to be looking at testing this entire thing. So yeah, as you can see, it's really easy to add new models and relationships between them. And that's part of the power that SQLAlchemy gives us. So that's everything for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.